I would like to apologize for all of the background noise. It is currently storming super hard outside, and I can only assume that that is Mother Nature very angry with me for buying another project car. I know, I bought another car. I haven't finished the Corvette, I haven't finished the Mystic Cobra, I haven't had an update on my Lotus Esprit in a long time. There's all kinds of stuff I need to do, and yet I'm buying more cars. But you have to understand, Importapart is a small lot, so I have to buy specialty stuff to make the margins worth it. And a V70R is a specialty car, and every now and then something comes in and it's too nice to part out. And I think that's this car. This is a 2005 V70R with 130,000 miles on it. It has a ton of aftermarket stuff, both good and bad, and it is not wrecked. It doesn't start. At least the auction couldn't get it to start. We unloaded it off the truck, we pushed it in here, and now I'm going to try to figure out if it runs, if the engine's good. If the engine's good, it might be a keeper, maybe. If the engine's not good, I'm going to sell it to one of my managers who has another V70R so that he can put this together for his wife, and the car will stay on the road, because that's ultimately the goal, is to keep things back on the road. I like to part out cars that can't be fixed and save cars that can. If you haven't noticed by now, I kind of have a thing for wagons. I have 3 BMW wagons already, although I think that number will get down to 2 at some point. And I like European cars. So a European wagon, it's a V70R. If this was a regular V70, I would have never seen it. And I also don't really look for S60Rs, although those are pretty good cars in their own right. But a V70R is a rare bird. They didn't make very many of these, a few thousand of them maybe, and they don't really come up for auction too often. This car unfortunately has a salvage title, and the Carfax says total loss, loss type, non-collision. And that could mean a lot of things. This could have driven through water and sucked in water and blown the motor up. This could have had parts stolen off of it. It could have had all kinds of different things. There's all kinds of different non-collision type total losses. So we're going to dive right into it. We're going to figure out what's wrong with it. We're going to either condemn the engine. We can compression test it if I can't get it started. If it doesn't sound right when it cranks, we're going to just figure out if this was a good buy or if it's just a project that I can pass off to one of my managers. Poor guy. Well, right off the tip of the bat, you can tell the front bumper's gone. I didn't get it with the car. It has been removed, at least removed correctly. It has some excellent wiring. It's just excellent. Where this goes, nobody knows. It's also missing the airbox, which is in the trunk. It has, at least from what I can tell, I've peeked around it a little bit. It has an aftermarket front mount intercooler kit and hard charge pipes. It has a 3-inch catted downpipe and 3-inch exhaust. And I'm assuming it's tuned because it has an electronic boost control solenoid. And then it has some general nonsense. Yeah. I feel like I just attract, I'm a magnet for cars like this. Like this, just stuff. Oh, electrical tape to get, that's a good repair. Painted fuse box. It's got an extra strut tower bar because one's never enough. But it's all here. It is all here. So here's some of the craftsmanship on this car. God, I hope the person that did that didn't do the rest of the mods on this car. Plenty of cable ties and zip ties. That part doesn't really bother me too much. I don't know why this is just hanging out here. I assume this mounted to the airbox or somewhere near it. And since the airbox is in the trunk, we may never know. Ooh, that's permanent. The other thing I noticed, it had a timing belt done at 117,000 miles. This car has 131, so 14,000 miles ago, this had a timing belt service, which is great because I assumed that if this was a non-runner, this might have had a broken timing belt, which would have meant the valves crashed into each other and it would need a whole load of work. Also, let's talk about this type of thing. Don't do this. There is no situation in which you need to quickly change the front bumper on your V70R. That's just not... Okay, but now I'm going to have to put fenders on it. Also the painted Grand Sport stripes. It's not a Corvette. Whatever. It's got some old PPF still on it. It looks like the hood used to have some on there, and it also has holes cut in the hood for these vents. Unless it's an aftermarket hood. I don't know if that's a real thing for these, but interestingly enough, the hood on this car is the same as an XC90, I think, or another Volvo that is not a V70R. But it is pretty straight. It has 18-inch Pegasus wheels. There's that aftermarket exhaust. It has 2-piece rotors. I don't think that's how they came. A couple dings on the door. This might make a pretty good daily driver. Whether it's for me or somebody else, well, that's to be determined. The battery is completely dead in this car. It's in the trunk. So I found a good Mopar battery. Hopefully that doesn't cause it to not run because it's out of a Dodge. It'll be fine. So we're gonna get that swapped out and see what it sounds like when it cranks. So in the back here, we have a whole bunch of hardware. Some brand new Volvo parts. Clips. There's all the headlight stuff, part of the key. More clips. So this looks like everything, or at least parts to put the front bumper back on. Here's the air box. And the grill. And this thing. Some air ducts. And I don't want to smell what's inside of that Tupperware or the water bottle. Those are getting tossed in the trash. So I'm going to get all this stuff out so I can get the battery replaced. Let's take a look at the inside. Yes, gauges, carbon fiber pod. It's kind of doubled in. The seats look not correct. Those should be bluer. It should be blue like the center of that, but it's fine. They're not in awful shape. Let's see here. Well, it's actually pretty okay in here. Ooh, it's got carbon fiber pillars. And why is there a gauge for the passenger? What is that? Volts. Oh yeah, it's for so the passenger can monitor your alternator health. Why is that there? These are questions we may never know. Also looks like the dash might be split up here. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm sure that's a super easy dash to do. But the rest of this is halfway decent. I know it's dark. I know it's weird. It's a Mopar battery. It's going to be fine. Well, something's buzzing. What is buzzing down here? Oh, what is that? I can't even tell what that is. Some kind of pump. We got to check the oil. Never start an engine you don't know that it has oil in it. It's got oil in it. I guess we're going to give it a go. We're going to see what happens here. Will it start? Will it crank? What will it do? Well, it cranks okay. It won't start though. Let's try it one more time. So that's not terrible. Okay. Well, I did notice something when we were pushing this car in that I would like to fix first, but I am 1000% sure that's not going to cause this to not start. But first, let's take a look inside here. All right. It appears to be missing some stuff maybe. We'll have to go through that. First, let's fix what I saw. Now, I'm not a super smart guy, but that's supposed to be connected. So I just got to loosen that clamp, tighten it back up. Should be good. Something is keeping this from Oh, it's installed wrong up here. Is that clamp loose too? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so that's why. Let's see if I can... We're just getting everything loose. All right, now we're gonna try it again just for the sake of trying it. I doubt this is gonna work. Nope. All right, let's go get my scan tool. Well, it doesn't have too many faults in it. I mean, obviously, it doesn't run. Let's see what this is in the CEM here. Communication with AUM control module, signal missing. Permanent fault. All right. We're going to have to look that one up. I don't know these cars off the top of my head, so we're going to have to actually read into this stuff. And then let's see. ABS I'm not worried about. Suspension. So that's it. There's nothing in the engine control. We're going to go look at live data here, though. All right. See if anything changes here. Oh, it almost started. All right, well, I can hear the pump turning on and the fuel pump relay is on, so. I really need to watch other stuff in here. Well, that's better. We can watch ignition. See, make sure it's got RPM. It sure does. Finally got it to throw a code, and it's throwing a 5000 code, which says engine speed RPM sensor signal faulty signal. So we need to go look at the cam and crank sensors. It doesn't tell me which it is. Again, I don't think this is the best diagnostic tool for a Volvo. There's stuff that is for a Volvo, and this is not it. This is for everything. So we're gonna go visually inspect those sensors, since I can't really watch them. At least I haven't figured out that menu to do so. And then we'll come back to this. Well, digging a little further, I found out that Volvo calls the crank sensor the engine RPM sensor. They're not wrong. That is located right here. So let's see if we can take a look. Oh, it looks like someone's either been in here or the wire is broken. The sheathing's been cut back. Let's see if we can pull this back. It looks like the wiring's broken. All right, we're gonna kind of peel this harness back and take a look. It's wrapped up to the connector. The idea here is to not cut my finger. And I know what you're saying. There's a better tool. You're right. This is what I found. Okay. It's hard to tell whether that's been scoped. Somebody been in here picking at it the wrong way, or it just came apart. All right, so what I'm going to do... Yeah, it doesn't look good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to probe where the sheathing is missing to the connector side of this and see if that's got continuity. And then we'll drop the light, put a razor blade on the magnet, and I'll forget about it, and cut my finger. I mean, we're then going to go to the wiring diagram and we'll do a continuity test between the connector and we'll go to the ECM. And if we don't have continuity between this, which actually I should do that first, I'm going to do a continuity test between this connector and the ECM. If I don't have continuity, I know I've got a wiring problem. If I do, then it's just ugly looking, and we'll have to fix it so it's not a problem in the future. Then we'll have to watch the sensor or try to check the sensor out. All right, so I found it in the wiring diagram. They call it an impulse sensor, but the wire colors are correct. There's the red wire, but the white wire goes to A66. And the red wire on the engine control module, the red wire goes to A48. So we're going to verify that there's continuity from here to here, and from here up to here. I don't want to throw a sensor at it. It won't fix it if there's got a wiring problem. So the ECM is underneath this cover. And this has some sort of slide function, if I remember correctly. That should be the trans. That should be the engine controller. There is some sort of release. Well, after some fighting with screwdrivers, it turns out there's a special tool to remove these, but I was very careful. I used a couple of real thin screwdrivers, and I got it out. So now I just need to identify the connectors and then the terminal. So we're going to do that, and then the continuity test. Well, I've located terminal 66. Put a pin in there, and we're going to connect that to the other side. And I've got a pin in this terminal, so if this is good, this makes continuity, you'll hear a beep. I got a cheap meter here. I don't have my good one, but it'll still do the same job. And we'll see if this is a problem or not. Okay. Kind of feel like Ivan over at Pine Hollow working on a Volvo, diagnosing problems. Hopefully I don't have to pull the cylinder head. That would be a bad time. All right, so now we're just going to make a leap over here. No continuity. We need continuity. Let's go to the broken part of the wire. Nada. Okay, now we're going to go to the other one, which is pin 48. I'm going to swap this to the other side. Okay, let's see if this one's got it. Wait, let's test the beep. Beep good? No beep. Okay, I got to go make sure that the wiring diagrams are correct, but all right, last and final test here. Red wire. Okay. I've got continuity there. And now we're going to go back to this one. We have continuity there. Okay, so I might have been in the wrong terminal. So at this point, even though that connector looks ugly, and it's broken, and we're going to have to repair that connector one way or the other. We're going to test the crank signal. You can do that with your meter and AC. I've got both of these leads going to the pins. Hopefully they are still on there. Let's see here. I think so. We're going to find out real quick. I'm going to crank this thing. We know it won't fire. Crank signal is disconnected. And let's see what happens. I'll have to review the footage to see if it worked. Alright, so this is a problem here. This is the required fuel pressure, or what it's looking for, and it has 15 psi. And I also noticed that when I first started cranking on this thing, it showed half a tank, and now it shows nothing. So I don't know what that's about. So this is showing relative fuel pressure at 1 psi, which is, how do I say, insufficient. All right, let's go to fuel system here. Fuel pressure, 15 psi. Let's see if anything changes when I crank this. No. All right, we're gonna go dig into this fuel pump and take a look, see if there's something we can visually see. All right, I skipped a few steps here. We're just gonna get this fuel pump. We're just looking. Visual inspection time. Okay, that's tight. It doesn't want to move. So much for visual inspection. Oh, yes. Can you just leave? Now there is another fuel pump, or part of the fuel pump on the other side that I have to remove the seat back for. We'll get there. We're just doing this first. All right, before I go any further, I'm gonna get all this cleaned up so nothing falls in the tank. All right, now that we're up, there's the lock ring. Well, that can't be right. There's a bunch of dirt and debris in there. It ain't got no gas in it. No gas. Well, maybe the gauge was stuck and now it's reading correctly. Is there a hole in this tank? It's just a plastic tank. Somebody steal the gas out of it? I don't see any holes drilled. Huh. It's got sway bars on it. Ooh. All right, we're gonna stop looking at that. We're gonna put some gas in it. All right, well, we're gonna pump a little bit of this junkyard gas in here. I know this car requires premium. This is for testing purposes only. I can get premium at a later date. We're ready to go. If this thing will catch up. I don't see it leaking. I hear fuel coming in the tank. It's not leaking on the ground. So after it ran for a little while, I have fuel. There's some dirt and debris in there, and this gas is probably not very good, but it should be enough to run. I'm going to just let that hang out, and we'll see if it starts. If this is all it needed, if it needed gas, I'm going to be at a loss for words. Let's see here. What the what? Well, it doesn't run great. It needed gas. It needed gas. It was out of gas the whole time. It was out of gas. I just don't understand. So what really happened here is I saw the fuel tank at half, and I assumed it had fuel in it. And then I saw the low fuel pressure, and I decided to give the tank a little, GM help. Anytime you have a GM with a bad fuel pump, or you suspect the fuel pump's just angry that day, you just give the old thunk with a hammer. And I did that, and the fuel gauge fell all the way to 0. And I'm like, oh crap, I broke the sending unit. Nope. It was stuck at half. Probably led people to believe that that's why there was actually gas in it when there actually wasn't. And I put some recycled gasoline in it, which I'm gonna have to suck back out because I probably put too much in there. And it runs fine, runs good. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. All right, guys, I know it's super loud in here. I've got fans going. It's the next day. I've gone ahead and put the airbox back together the best I can. I also checked all the fluids, transmission, brake fluid, power steering, and coolant. Everything's topped off. Everything looks good. I have zip tied this loose wiring harness into place so that it doesn't drag and get caught on wheels and tires. I also pumped out all of that junkyard shop gas that I put in here just for testing, and I've got 2.5 gallons of fresh 93 octane in it. Should be enough to get me to the gas station, which is about a mile away. I hope it doesn't get worse gas mileage than that. I also buttoned up the inside here to a degree. You can tell that these seats have been dyed. I know that's hard to see in that clip, but I think at this point we're ready for the initial maiden voyage to the gas station. All right, here we go. Uh-oh. We gonna make it? We don't have far to go. All right, we're gonna drive. We have brakes. Pulling out of the shop. Can I make this turn? These things have the turning radius of a limousine that's been stretched. One of those stretched limousines. Because if a limousine wasn't long enough, I think that's the worst thing about these cars is the turning radius. But we made it. All right, brakes are a little rusty. I'm gonna drive it real easy. Second gear, a little flare into third. It's got an ABS light on. Forgot to take all the option writing off of it. We'll have to do that when we get back to the shop. Okay, we're all fueled up maybe. Shows full tank. Is the AC working here? I think it's from the south. Most cars from the south have working AC. It feels cool. pulled up. Everything's just fine except for no working AC. One successful maiden voyage. So it's acted up a little bit. Oh, big flare. I don't know if these transmissions are known for having trouble. I'll have to recheck the fluid level. I didn't do that when it was warm, so maybe that's the problem, but it definitely didn't like that shift. All right, let's try it with some more throttle here. Oh no! Doesn't like that, and I can hear a massive boost leak, which that's not surprising. This thing made it home relatively fine, but when I pulled out onto my street, I gave it some gas and it went into some limp mode. So I was digging around a little bit, and well, I'll show you what I found. I know it's hard to see back there, but that's not attached. That's the outlet pipe on the compressor housing of the turbo. So I'm going to get that back on how it's supposed to be, and then it should make boost and be out of limp mode again, but that may not fix the transmission. This pipe is O-ringed, so it's just a V-band clamp. We are back together now. It really wasn't too bad, but I'm gonna have to replace this clamp because it still doesn't get tight enough. I think it's okay for now. I don't think anything's gonna go anywhere, but I think a few bucks on a new clamp will go a long way on something like this. Well, now I just blew another coupler apart. The one that goes into the throttle body down there, which is not super accessible. I'll have to pull the airbox back out. I feel like I'm gonna just have to check every single clamp. Well, I went over this and checked every single clamp on the charge piping, on the intercooler, everything. And half of them were loose, some of them were misaligned. So everything's as good as I could make it. Nothing's really gonna come off, at least I don't think so. I didn't think so last time either. I still need to get a clamp for that charge pipe off of the turbo compressor housing, but I think it's time to button this intake back together and see if it holds boost now. Okay, let's see if it's happy. For a little bit. All right. Well, it's not too upset at the moment. It's not really holding a lot of boost though. I think these cars run a lot more boost than that. That wasn't Ford. I'm not trying to go crazy. It still sounds like there's a boost leak. Maybe it's got a hole in one of the couplers, or it's probably that charge pipe right off the turbo. Yeah, that's what that is. Shifting okay now. I don't think it's warm enough. What is going on with you, transmission? This thing is pissed. No, it's warm. I'm sure I can get it to act up here. Oh, ow. Hey, give me a warning next time. Fine, I'm coming to a stop sign. We're gonna take off gently. I'm in the neighborhood, so I'm gonna take off nice and easy. See, that time wasn't too bad. I think it's about throttle input. Okay, we're done. No more testing. I want to go home. I didn't set out to find a V70R. I didn't hunt one of these cars down. I didn't even scope this thing out before it was on the auction block. I happened to cross it when I just checked out that particular city's auction sale list that day. So I threw a cheap bid on it, thinking I see a bunch of aftermarket parts. They typically do well for me. It's got 18-inch Pegasus wheels. It's got big brakes. Those parts will all sell really well, but it doesn't matter because I can't throw a strong bid on it since I have to pay for transport. I have to consider my total investment, not just the bid price. Surprisingly, I won this car on approval, and 4 very long days later, they awarded it to me, which was even more surprising. Once I paid for transport and had this thing hauled up to St. Louis, I walked around it for a few minutes. I can't part this car out. Absolutely can't do it. I was a car guy a long time before I was a business owner, and they only made 3,400 of these cars. There are lots of people looking for these cars. There's hardly any of them for sale at any given time. I can't do it. There's a lot of cars out there that are wrecked beyond repair or they're not worth fixing. This is not a parts car. Yep, another project car. I'm sure you are all surprised, but the fact is, if you've watched this channel for any period of time, you already know this is par for the course. There's going to be a bit of time before I have a chance to make an update on this car because I have some parts to find. I need to find an R-specific front bumper, I need a hood, I need fenders, and then I have to come up with a plan for the ailing transmission. The last thing I want to do is pump a bunch of time and money into this transmission to find out I need to replace it. I also don't want to find out that the car makes too much power for the transmission to reliably handle. So I just hope I can find a permanent solution for my problem, if only such a thing existed.
Yeah, Eric, I got you.
I really hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.